Am I the asshole for invading someone's personal space? Not a serious or life-altering situation. For context, I, 33 female, live in the UK. We have quiet sections on trains and I booked my ticket specifically so I could do work on a table in the quiet section on my laptop. My friend Lee, 34 female, sat opposite me. A man, 40s, 50s, was sat next to me and about 15 minutes into the journey, starts watching Friends out loud on his iPad. I put my headphones in but it was loud enough that I could still hear it. My friend and the person sat next to her were just giving him dirty looks, but he was oblivious and munching away on his sandwich. So I said, "Excuse me, would you mind turning that down just a little bit please?" He said no. Literally one word, no. Then I mentioned that it was the quiet section of the train and he laughed at me and said, "Are you gonna tell on me?" It was so bizarre and annoying, but my friend just gestured for me to stay calm and leave it. So I closed my laptop and started watching with him. And commenting, "OMG I love this bit. Watch the next part, it's so funny. Oh, is this the one where X happens? I'm not a massive Friends fan but I know enough to get by." He didn't respond, just kept giving me irritated looks but I kept going. He moved the iPad from the table to his lap, without turning the volume lower at any point. So I just carried on peering over his shoulder and commenting. He finally slammed the iPad case shut, grabbed his backpack and walked off, presumably to find another seat on the train. I opened my laptop and carried on working. After we got off, Lee said I should have just left it and not reacted to him, but it was a 4 hours journey and I had a lot to do. I paid extra to get a table seat, that too in the quiet section. She said I could have offered him my headphones. Maybe if they were over ear, but they're in ear and he's a stranger so, no. She said I kind of invaded his personal space. I didn't touch him or move from the confines of my seat at any point and she was like no but watching someone's iPad is an asshole move. We're not in a fight, just a light-hearted debate on whether or not I'm the asshole here for how I went about it. Not the asshole. And Lee needs to stop being such a doormat. I do wish the guards would enforce the quiet zones, but the assholish reaction of the guy you encountered does make me realize why they don't want to get involved. Their job is bad enough already. Not the asshole. He wanted friends, he got a friend. Not the asshole at all. He chose to make watching his TV show a public activity. In doing so, he opened himself up to public participation. Not the asshole. He lacked basic manners, you just commented on the show he so graciously put on for everyone to hear. Not the asshole. What you did was perfect. You didn't scream or yell. He basically invited everyone to watch by forcing everybody to listen. Am I the asshole for laughing at my girlfriend's intervention to get me to stop smoking weed? I, 26M, smoke weed almost every day. But I've only spent $150 on weed in the last year. I smoke 1 or 2 tiny bowls in the evenings but only after I'm done with work, gym, and chores, errands for the day. I sometimes take edibles on weekends. I do it because I like being high, but also because I lift weights plus run 5 days a week and need to eat at least 4,000 calories per day to maintain my weight. Weed gives me the appetite to eat clean, instead of eating less filling junk. My girlfriend, 25F, doesn't like that I use weed and has asked that I quit a few times. She's worried because it's unhealthy and that it might impact my career. But I have a great job that pays really well and I'm good at it despite my weed habits. I also take my health very seriously. Weed and occasional binge drinking are my only vices but I work out often, eat super healthy, drink tons of water, sleep at least 7 hours a night, and never get sick. My girlfriend has a key to my place and stays with me the majority of the week because she has housemates. Yesterday I got home from the gym to find her and 2 of her friends Alice and Tina sitting at my dining table with my weed and bong. Alice and Tina start into a spiel about my problem, while my girlfriend sits quietly looking sad. It was the same stuff about how it's bad for me, bad for my career. One of our mutual friends who also smokes a lot was laid off earlier this week, etc. I'm chuckling through the whole thing. Once they were done I tried to explain that my career and health are both doing well. At that point, Alice says, "Sorry but this has to happen, name," and gets up to throw my bong in the trash. At this point I get mad and I snatch my bong from Alice. I tell them I'm not going to let myself get lectured about my problem by 3 women who binge drink at least once a week. Especially not by someone like Alice who does ket or coke whenever she drinks and has an actual substance problem. And my girlfriend who gets sick every other week is not an authority on health. At this point, Tina tells me, "Keep ruining your life, you fucking addict," and they get up to leave as my girlfriend is crying. I asked my girlfriend weed was really the problem, but she just kept crying. Before they left, I told my girlfriend that when she's ready to talk she can reach out, and she nodded. My girlfriend just texted me asking if she could come over and talk. I haven't responded yet. Am I the asshole for how I handled this situation? You have an intervention for someone when they're clearly destroying their lives and can't see it. You don't have an intervention for someone when they have a habit you don't like, but are otherwise doing fine in life. Your girlfriend and her friends were way out of line. Not the asshole. Also, keep ruining your life, you fucking addict. Not really a great thing to say to an addict during an intervention. Lol. I, 26M, smoke weed almost every day. But I've only spent $150 on weed in the last year. Info. Where the hell are you getting your weed that you can smoke 1 or 2 tiny bowls per day and only spend $150 per year? Where? Not the asshole, by the way. Not the asshole. The irony of a cokehead, let alone a fucking ketamine user, to try and talk down to a stoner. Give me a break. Not the asshole. And what the hell made your girlfriend think it was okay to invite those two over and let them try and throw your stuff out in your house? Listen, I don't like weed. I think it smells awful, and I think that while I can have benefits, there are also lots of downsides that get overlooked. But you don't sound like you're overdoing it. You sound like you have a handle on things, and as you said, you don't even seem to use it that much. If your girlfriend hates it that much and it's such a deal-breaker, then your relationship might be over, but that doesn't give her the right to invite these girls over to judge you and trash your personal property. Especially if they do, as you say, binge drink and do cocaine, which is so much worse. Not the asshole, verging on nah. Your girlfriend apparently has a problem with weed. You enjoy it. Y'all aren't compatible. Nobody is wrong here, though the intervention was a bit heavy-handed. You two need to talk about this, though. If you're not going to quit, and I'm not saying you should, and she's not willing to let her views on the subject evolve, and I'm not saying she necessarily needs to, then you two need to split sooner rather than later, or this type of conflict will just keep escalating. Am I the asshole for telling my wife that she lives vicariously through our daughters? I feel so gaslighted about the whole situation, so please let me know if I'm in the wrong here. I, M30, have a wife, F25. Alyssa, and we have 4 kids together, and they're all girls, F6, F4, F4 and F2. All of my daughters are currently a part of beauty pageants, and well, my wife I come to realize is a stage mom. I am not over-exaggerating when I say we spent probably $100K a year on pageants for our daughters. I know it's ridiculous, but happy wife, happy life. But recently I'm not really liking the girls being in pageants. It's because I hate some of the glitz pageants she puts them in, and she makes them look 35, and I don't also think it's healthy for our daughters to compete against each other, especially my twin girls. Because well, she doesn't see it, but when they lose you can tell they're really hurt. When I bring this up to my wife and voice my concerns, she shuts it down and says, well, I was in pageants since I was 10 months old and I'm just fine, and it blessed me with a lot of opportunities like pay for my college, or, our girls one day has to learn you can't always win, and plus it teaches them to be humble. I personally believe there is better ways to do so. What really did it for me is I kinda eavesdropped on my wife practicing with my eldest, and my eldest did not want to practice anymore, and I overheard my wife bribing my daughter $100 if she kept practicing, and of course my eldest did. I confronted my wife about this later, and she told me that I just didn't understand and that it's just to motivate her. I then accused my wife that she is living vicariously through our daughter and that it's getting out of hand now. My wife has now been giving me the cold shoulder these past couple of days, and I'm starting to feel bad. I'm starting to think maybe I don't understand it and that I'm being too much a dad. So I'm wondering, am I the asshole here, and should I just apologize to my wife? Also terribly sorry if my grammar sucks, had to write this fast. Not the asshole. Your wife is vicariously living through your daughters. I really wish beauty pageants didn't exist, and it really upsets me when people put makeup on the kids participating, like they aren't beautiful enough in their natural state. You guys need to get into some counseling, and she needs therapy. It's one thing to do it once a year or something for fun, but this is ridiculous. Getting help now may save your children resentment in the future. My brother in Christ, you all have more money than sense if you're seriously dropping anywhere near $100,000 on ducking children's beauty pageants. Not the asshole, she's definitely living vicariously through them. Bribing a child who didn't want to do it anymore is manipulative as fuck too. Also, child beauty pageants are toxic and should be abolished. No child, especially those too young to consent, should be put through that. Not the asshole. Have you asked your daughters privately how they feel about pageants? By 6, she is old enough to know what she loves. My niece did gymnastics, ball, swim, ballet, cheer, and a lot more because you have to start them young or they'll be left behind in more competitive arenas, but the moment she expressed to my sis that she didn't want to do one of the things that was that. She's currently in gym, ballet and cheer and loving all of them. If your daughters hate it, then that's all you need to pull the plug. In Ta. Your wife is toxic for forcing your kids to do this. Am I the asshole for asking to move to another table because of a child crying at the table beside us? I don't honestly know if this is that big of a deal, but I'd like to know what everyone thinks of this situation. The other day I, 38F, went out on a date for dinner with my wife, 35F. I had reserved our usual table at a rather sophisticated restaurant. We've been going there for a very long time, ever since we started dating, which was 15 years ago, and I've never seen anyone bring very young kids there. Anyway, the couple at the table right beside ours had brought their kid, who was just a few months old. The child would not stop crying. They would try to comfort her, but it lasted just a few minutes and the kid went off on another crying fit. Once our food arrived, it only got worse. I was there to have a relaxing one-on-one conversation with my wife, and it was impossible under those circumstances. I thought we could sit at another table. So I asked our waiter if it was possible to be moved to a different table. We've been going to this restaurant for years and always sat at this table when we could, so he asked me why we wanted to move. It was more of a joke. I said we wanted some space to have a conversation together and it was too loud here. The couple heard my answer and the husband said that I was being rude and insensitive. Now have 2 kids, 8M and 6F. I know the stress of being parents, but we never brought kids that young there. We went out much less, and when we did we got babysitters then, just as we do now. I just said I preferred to sit somewhere else and didn't understand their comments. Was it an asshole move? Especially because they heard? Not the asshole, they were being rude and insensitive to everybody else in the restaurant. I get that kids cry, but you can't expect strangers to put up with a screaming child through their entire meal. They should have gotten a babysitter or something. Not the asshole, you didn't complain to them or ask them to move. You just asked to remove yourself from it. Not the asshole in any way, shape, or form. The dad was the rude and insensitive one. Not the asshole. The fact that the father wasn't apologetic says a lot. This is why babysitters exist. I have a high tolerance for kids in public places, but the parents are clearly assholes here. Not the asshole.